Oh God, he had it all, and then lost it all. In the fog-chilled nights of San Francisco, the lights from Cole Industries Tower reflect off the bay's surface like a silver slash on black velvet. Adrian Cole, tech billionaire, icon of the American dream, stands gazing at his reflection through thick glass, seemingly untouchable. But inside that penthouse, where the clock ticks in silent rhythm, a secret is brewing. Claire Dawson, his pregnant wife, feels the growing chasm between them, a bottomless abyss. Betrayal, lies, and a slap under the flash of cameras are about to sweep away the empire he built. And the question remains, when the mask falls, who will truly be punished? San Francisco's dawn often begins with a cold light, piercing the misty haze clinging to the glass of towering skyscrapers. On the top floor of Cole Industries Tower, Adrian Cole stands motionless before a vast window, looking down at the city waking below. The morning light reflects on his face, etching the hard lines of a man accustomed to commanding the world. From here, everything looks small: the streets, the people, their dreams. And he believes he's in a place others only dare to dream of. This city was once his. The world, in truth, was once his. At 36, Adrian Cole is one of America's youngest billionaires, founder of Novodyne Systems, the tech empire that turned a scrappy Detroit kid into a star lionized on the covers of finance magazines. They say he can turn ideas into gold, that his gaze can pierce through numbers others see as chaos. He never sleeps more than 3 hours a night, arriving at the office before the sun rises, and leaving long after the city sinks into darkness. A man of reason, order, and absolute power. Yet, in that moment, as the city stirs from its slumber, his reflection in the thick glass tells a different story. Tired, empty, and strangely lost. Beneath the perfectly tailored suit, Adrian feels his heart heavy, as if every breath comes at the cost of something long gone. He sips his black coffee, bitter as the truth he dares not face. Behind the oak door, the CEO's office at Novodyne hums with the blue glow of screens and the cold steel scent of technology. On the desk, contracts stack like mountains. The door opens, and Maya Turner, his assistant, enters with the precision of a machine. Nearing 30, sharp and quietly efficient, she places an espresso on the desk, her voice even and low. "Your schedule's packed today, Mr. Cole. The finance meeting's been moved to the afternoon, and Miss Dawson called twice." Adrian looks up. His gaze flicks over her, cold, then lingers on the blinking message on his phone. "Claire, 8:14 a.m. We need to talk." He sets the phone down without replying. "Thank you, Maya," he says softly. "Cancel the afternoon." Maya nods, but as she turns to leave, a flicker of hesitation crosses her eyes. 6 years working for him have taught her to notice when Adrian Cole is avoiding something. These past months, the signs have been clear as a crack in glass: sudden trips, late-night calls, and couriered envelopes to obscure downtown addresses. She doesn't ask, but a prickle of instinct begins to stir, as if something is slipping beyond control. Meanwhile, in a mansion south of the city, Claire Dawson sits in a brightly lit room, her hand resting gently on her rounded belly. The doctor says she's in her 8th month, a time when every small movement of the baby feels like a miracle. But this morning, that miracle can't dispel the emptiness within her. Outside, the press still hails the American power couple, but inside that picture, she's alone. Adrian has vanished into the very world he built. She looks in the mirror, a woman with soft brown hair, tired but resolute eyes. She once loved him fiercely, loved how he dreamed big and dared to risk everything. But now, with the flashbulbs gone and no audience left, she sees that love crumbling in silence. Each night, she sits by the window, listening to the wind sweep across the bay, waiting for the familiar beep of his keycard in the door. But the door rarely opens. Adrian cites work urgent meetings, late client dinners. She believes him, or at least, she wants to. But even faith has its limits. That noon, at Novodyne's headquarters, a meeting stretches past 4 hours. The conference room door stays shut, leaving only Maya and a few senior executives inside. They talk markets and strategies, but their eyes betray unease. Unexplained expenses, a shady foreign partnership, and numbers that don't add up in the quarterly report. "We'll handle it," Adrian says, his voice firm. No one outside this room needs to know. His tone is a blade, cutting off dissent. But as they leave, Maya lingers, her eyes fixed on the screen displaying an electronic signature. Next to Adrian's name is another, Isabel Cross. The name sends a chill down her spine. She's seen it before on a hotel bill from Union Square, where Adrian once attended an investment conference. As dusk falls, the city glows in a pale golden fog. Adrian returns to his penthouse, tossing his jacket onto a chair, scanning the lavish yet empty room. On the table, a wedding photo of him and Claire remains both beaming in a sunlit garden, where promises of forever once echoed. He brushes the glass frame, then notices a faint crack running through the photo, a thin fracture, barely noticeable. But he sees it, and for some reason, it unsettles him. Outside, the city lights begin to flicker on. Each glow is a reminder. No matter how high he stands, every empire, no matter how grand, begins to crumble from a crack like that. If you're watching this far, let me know where you're from and what time it is. Because this story, it's only just begun. The San Francisco afternoon spills down in a light half gold, half gray, as if the sky can't decide between day and night. In Novodyne Systems' glass tower, the office empties. Keyboards fall silent. Lights dim floor by floor. Only Maya Turner remains, hunched over a glowing screen, her brown eyes sharp with caution. On her desk lies a copy of last month's payment ledger. The partner column reads, Isabel Cross, consulting contract, confidential. No address, no tax ID, just staggering sums transferred in silence. Maya stares at them like a maze, each line hiding a lie. She knows not to meddle in her boss's affairs. Adrian Cole can elevate an employee to director with a single word or erase them from the industry in a day. But reason can't override instinct. She recalls this morning his evasive glance, the name Isabel Cross on a signature list. She quietly opens the company's internal search. A few clicks, and the result is a blank profile. No photo, no bio, no title. Isabel Cross, a name that exists without existing. Maya leans back, a chill creeping down her spine. In Novodyne's world, nothing non-existent gets paid millions. Across the city, Claire Dawson sits in an OB-GYN clinic, watching the tiny heartbeat flicker on the ultrasound screen. The doctor smiles, saying the baby is healthy. She nods, but her eyes are hollow. Adrian isn't here. He promised to come, then vanished with an urgent meeting. She leaves the clinic, stepping onto Market Street. A light rain falls, droplets shattering on the taxi's glass. In the reflection, her face is pale, her eyes brimming. The cars pass like memories, moments of happiness swept away, leaving a cold void. She remembers their early days, when Adrian was just a passionate coder staying up all night to perfect a tech prototype he believed would change the world. She believed in him, invested everything, her heart, her faith, and he did it. He built Novodyne. But success brought distance. Now, she's an outsider to his kingdom, watching him shine while she fades. Night falls. In Novodyne's office, Maya hasn't left her chair. From the top floor, the CEO's office light still burns. She holds her phone, hesitating. Finally, she opens Adrian's itinerary and spots a small note. Meeting, Fairmont Hotel, 8 p.m. She glances at the clock. 7:47. Every rational thought tells her to stay put, but her heart, which races every time Adrian smiles, urges her to act. At the Fairmont Hotel, golden light spills onto marble walls. Adrian Cole steps out of the elevator, tall and composed, adjusting his tie as if preparing for a $1 million deal. But the person waiting in the penthouse isn't a business partner. Isabel Cross, dark hair cascading, skin pale as porcelain, lips a deep red, sits cross-legged on a chair, smirking as he enters. "You're late," she says, her voice a soft breath. "Traffic," Adrian replies, though both know it's a lie. They face each other in the room's dim glow. Champagne glasses shimmer. The city outside stretches like a silken glow. Isabel steps closer, her hand grazing his neck. "You know," she whispers, "at this height, one small slip, and everything vanishes." Adrian gives a faint smile, unsure if it's fear or intoxication. "I've fallen plenty of times," he says. In the hotel lobby, Maya stands tucked behind a marble column, her heart pounding. She's not sure what she expects to see, only that each passing second makes her want to flee. But when the elevator doors open, when she sees Adrian step out with Isabel, his hand lightly brushing the woman's back, her entire world collapses in a single beat. She turns away, tears welling but held back. Her hands grip her phone, its screen showing a missed call. Claire Dawson. She stares at the name, then takes a deep breath. She knows what she must do. The next morning, the press still praises Novodyne. Its stock continues to climb. Adrian steps into his office, unchanged in appearance. But Maya sees something new in him, a shadow, a faint darkness clinging to his eyes. "Mr. Cole," she says, forcing calm into her voice. "I updated the Isabel cross-contract file. No information matches federal records. It might be fake." Adrian pauses. His gaze locks onto her, cold as steel. "You're overstepping, Maya." "Maybe," she replies, her eyes steady. "But I think Miss Dawson deserves to know." The air in the room freezes. Adrian sets his coffee down, his hand trembling just for a moment, but Maya sees it. In that instant, she glimpses fear in the eyes of the once invincible man. He's no longer Novodyne's king. He's just a man hiding something too big. That evening, a small envelope slides under Claire's door. Inside is a photo. Adrian and Isabel outside the Fairmont Hotel, city lights reflecting in their eyes like artificial stars. No note, just a single handwritten slip. Everything he built is a lie. She stares at the photo, then rests her hand on her belly. The baby stirs, as if responding to her heartbeat. Tears fall, but this time, they're not just sorrow. They're an awakening and a silent vow. That night, from the top of Novodyne's glass tower, the CEO's office light burns late. Below, Maya walks away, head high, clutching a USB with copies of Isabel Cross's transactions. The bay's wind cuts through, cold and sharp, carrying a whisper. "One small crack, Maya. One crack, and the whole tower falls." The story has only scratched the surface. Beyond San Francisco's lights lies a darkness no one dares to face. The next morning, San Francisco's sky is heavy with leaden gray. Thick clouds crawl across the bay, casting shadows over countless glass towers. On Novodyne's 54th floor, Maya Turner stands by the window, holding a sleek USB containing every transaction tied to Isabel Cross. Each number is a blade sharp, cold, and capable of destroying Adrian Cole's career in an instant. But Maya doesn't want to destroy him. Not yet. In her heart lingers a mix of admiration and disappointment. She once believed he was the epitome of perfection, a man who defied odds, built an empire from nothing. Now, she sees only an arrogant soul teetering on a ledge he carved himself. Her phone buzzes. The screen shows, "Unknown number." She answers, her voice low and cautious. "Maya Turner?" "Yes. Who's this?" "I'm Claire Dawson." "Claire." In that moment, Maya freezes. Her heart races, as if someone squeezed the breath from her lungs. She thought of this woman all night, pictured the face in that photo, a wife smiling while her world crumbled behind her. "I received an envelope, a photo of my husband, and that woman. Someone wants me to know something." Claire's voice trembles, but each word hardens with resolve. "Would you meet me?" Maya asks. "Yes, but not at my house. Too many eyes are watching." A small cafe in the Marina district holds only a few patrons reading newspapers. Light streams through the windows, illuminating Claire's pale, delicate hands. She wears a long wool coat, concealing her swollen belly. Maya enters, hesitant, and for a moment, they lock eyes. "Are you the one who sent the photo?" Claire begins, her voice soft but carrying a storm. Maya shakes her head. "No, but I think I know who's behind it. Isabel Cross." Claire says the name quickly, as if it's haunted her dreams. "Yes." Maya places the USB on the table. "This contains what you need to see. Hidden transactions, shady contracts, and records no one at Novodyne dares touch. I couldn't send it online. Too risky." Claire stares at her. "Why are you helping me?" Maya pauses, the clink of a spoon stirring coffee sounding like a ticking clock. "Because I believed in him, just like you did." A silence settles between the two women, one carrying the pain of betrayal, the other the guilt of complicity. Both know, from this moment, there's no turning back. Meanwhile, on Novadine's top floor, Adrian Cole hosts a guest. Isabel Cross sits across from him, eerily calm. She wears a black dress, her smile thin as a thread. "You're worried," she says, her voice honeyed. "You look different, Adrian. Novadine's under scrutiny. The next quarterly report goes public. If someone digs..." "Then what?" Isabel cuts in, leaning forward. "Forgot already? I'm the one who covered your tracks. Without me, that money would have been exposed long ago." Her red-painted nails trace invisible circles on his neck. "We're on the same side. If you fall, I fall. So don't teach me how to be afraid." Adrian stays silent. Her words are both a warning and a chain. He knows Isabel isn't trustworthy, yet he can't break free. Like a moth drawn to a flame, knowing it will burn. That afternoon, Maya calls Claire again. "I've arranged for you to meet someone. Javier Cruz, a manager at the Fairmont Hotel. He's seen Adrian there, more than once. Will he talk?" Claire asks, her voice hoarse. If the reason's strong enough, Claire understands. She's lived too long in a world of power to know. No one speaks without something to gain. She decides to meet Javier that evening. The Fairmont Hotel is quiet. A piano's notes drift from the lounge, mingling with the steady patter of rain on glass. Claire steps in, each step a struggle. She spots Javier at the front desk, his eyes meeting hers with hesitation. "You're the one who saw Adrian Cole?" she asks. Javier glances around, then nods slightly. "Yes, but I can't. I could lose my job." Claire pulls an envelope from her bag and places it on the counter. "Just tell the truth." He takes a deep breath, then speaks softly. "I saw him come with a woman. She rented the penthouse for 2 months under a fake name. I overheard calls between them. Something about transfers, a charity fund, and money laundering." Claire stands frozen. The words money laundering strike like lightning. "Do you have proof?" Javier nods. "Security footage, but I can't keep it." He hands her a small memory card. "If I'm found out, you never met me." Claire grips it tightly, her heart pounding. She's no longer the fragile woman. She holds the key to a storm, one that could destroy everything or save her from hell. As she leaves the hotel, rain pours heavily. Streetlights gleam on wet pavement like bloodstains on glass. Across the street, a black car idles. Inside, Isabel Cross leans back, a cigarette glowing red in her hand. She watches Claire, her lips curling slightly. "Well done, Adrian," she whispers. "Your wife's smarter than you thought." She pulls out her phone and dials. "We have a problem," she says, her voice cold as steel. She knows. That night, Maya gets a call from an unknown number. When she answers, a low female voice speaks. "If you want to survive at Novadine, forget Claire Dawson." The call ends. Maya sits frozen, cold sweat trickling down her spine. She realizes this battle is no longer about love and betrayal. It's a fight for survival, where every step could be her last. In her Pacific Heights apartment, Claire opens the USB Maya sent. The screen lights up, revealing countless transactions all under Nova Heart Foundation, the charity she founded. She sinks into a chair, hand on her belly. Javier's voice echoes in her mind, blending with Maya's warnings and Isabel's image. They weave into one truth. Adrian Cole used her children's charity to launder money for his mistress. Thunder cracks outside. Lightning illuminates Claire's face, no longer a victim, but a woman forging pain into a weapon. Rain falls. The city shines. But in those glass panes, a soul has awakened. And when that woman rises, no one can stop the coming storm. San Francisco glows brighter than ever tonight. Lights from the Four Seasons spill onto Market Street like molten gold. Limousines line up outside, reporters jostle, cameras flash. Inside, the annual Nova Heart Foundation Gala unfolds, the charity once hailed as the city's pride, now a stage for an impending storm. Claire Dawson steps into applause. She wears an emerald gown hugging her pregnant frame, her hair loose, her smile resolute. Under crystal chandeliers, she looks like an angel from a painting. But beneath that serenity, her heart pounds with pain and the power it brings. She knows everything. Every transaction, every record, every frame from the Fairmont's cameras tucked in a drive hidden beneath her dress's silk. Each step into the hall is a countdown to truth's awakening. Across the room, Adrian Cole appears. His black tuxedo is flawless, his smile rehearsed to perfection, but his eyes are clouded, anxious, unsteady. He's late. The press catches it. Flashes capturing a powerful man struggling to hold his composure. And then, as lights focus on the entrance, Isabel Cross arrives. The room seems to tilt. She wears a daring metallic gown, her neck high, her eyes slicing through the air. Uninvited, she moves like the event's host. No one stops her. All watch, curious, then whisper as the music slows, taut as a violin string. Claire sees her instantly. A chill runs down her spine. Two women, opposite poles of one man, stand 10 meters apart, amid a glittering crowd. "Mrs. Cole, my apologies. I thought this was an open gala," Isabel says, her voice velvet, each word cutting deep. Claire smiles, poised. "I suppose it is, but some guests don't know when they've gone too far." The crowd holds its breath. The room hums with fragile silence. Maya Turner is there, posing as an event coordinator. She stands at the hall's edge, clutching her phone. Her heart thumps loud enough to echo. She sees Isabel approach Adrian. They exchange a glance like conspirators. Maya knows. One more second, and it all collapses. On stage, the MC introduces the evening's host, Claire Dawson Cole. Claire steps up, her voice ringing through the mic, steady and warm. "We're here tonight to talk about compassion, about children who need saving, about faith in humanity. But sometimes, even faith can be stolen." The room's energy dips. Adrian looks up, rigid. Isabel smirks faintly. "Tonight," Claire continues, her gaze sweeping the crowd, "we're not just raising funds. We're proving truth can't be bought with money." Murmurs ripple through. Cameras pan to Adrian. For a moment, she locks eyes with him, her gaze so cold it makes him shudder. She knows what's racing through his mind. Panic, fear of exposure, the instinct to control. Isabel glides through the crowd, stopping beside him. "She knows," she whispers. Adrian inhales sharply, forcing a smile. "No, she's just playing games." "You'd better pray so," Isabel replies, her voice a knife grazing skin. The speech ends. Applause scatters, mixed with confusion and admiration. Claire steps off stage, weary, one hand on her belly. But as she moves through the crowd, Isabel turns sharply. Her elbow slams into Claire, not an accident. Claire gasps, clutching her stomach, stumbling. A champagne glass crashes to the floor, shattering. The crowd stirs. In that moment, Adrian rushes forward, but instead of supporting his wife, he grabs her shoulders and snaps. "For God's sake, Claire, can't you watch where you're going?" His voice cuts like a blade. The crowd's murmurs halt. Every camera turns to them. Claire looks up. Her eyes glisten, not with pain, but with clarity. She stares into him, her last shred of trust shattering. And then, in a flash of fury, Adrian slaps her. The sound cracks like thunder. The room gasps. Claire staggers, hand on her cheek, eyes wide. Flashes erupt relentlessly. In that second, every smile, every lie, every illusion of power dissolves before the lenses. Isabel stands back, a faint, victorious smile on her lips. Maya, watching from afar, is stunned. She wants to run forward, but her feet won't move. She can only witness the scene, a pregnant woman publicly humiliated by the man she once idolized. Claire breathes heavily but doesn't cry. Not this time. She rises slowly, each breath a vow. "I think," she says, her voice steady and clear, "the compassion you speak of is dead, Adrian." She turns, walking through the sea of cameras. Each flash is a bullet, tearing apart Adrian Cole's image on the covers of Forbes, Fortune, and countless papers that once deified him. Behind her, Adrian stands frozen, his face ashen. Whispers swell like waves. Reporters push forward, cameras whirring. Isabel places a hand on his shoulder, whispering, "You just destroyed yourself, Adrian. No one can save you now." He shoves her hand away, his eyes wild. For the first time, the man who controlled everything controls nothing. Outside, rain begins to fall. Claire steps out of the hall, hand on her belly, breathing heavily. The city's lights reflect on her face, a face that has fallen and is beginning to rise. And so, the final mask falls. One slap not only shatters the silence but ignites the true war where love, honor, and justice no longer stand on the same side. The news spreads faster than an explosion. Within hours of the gala, San Francisco talks of nothing but Adrian Cole's slap. Social media floods with phone-recorded videos, the celebrated philanthropist coldly striking his pregnant wife at a charity event. Headlines cut like knives. Silicon Valley's most powerful man assaults wife at Novahart Gala. From tech genius to abuser. By dawn, Novadine's stock plummets nearly 20%. Investors pull out. The board scrambles for an emergency meeting. Major networks replay Claire clutching her belly, leaving the hall in the rain a symbol of a once glorious empire's collapse. In her Pacific Heights apartment, Claire sits on the sofa, a pillow against her belly, the TV reflecting her image, a pale face, resolute eyes. Beside her, her father, Charles Dawson, his face creased with anger and pity. "You can stay silent," he says, voice rough. "Don't drag this out. Let the lawyers handle it." Claire shakes her head, gazing at the rain-streaked window. "No, Dad. This time, I won't hide behind closed doors." She hands him the hard drive copies of the money laundering records from Maya. Charles is silent for a long time. He knows this isn't just betrayal but a crime that could topple Adrian's empire. "Are you sure?" "I've lost too much to hesitate," she replies, her voice calm as a still lake. Now it's his turn to lose everything. Across the city, Novadine's tower is no longer a beacon of light. In the 60th floor boardroom, the air is thick with cigarette smoke and tension. The directors sit silently, avoiding Adrian's gaze. A giant screen shows a red plunging stock chart. "It's temporary," Adrian says, his voice hoarse, forcing calm. "The media will move on." "Not temporary," the board chairman replies. "We're facing lawsuits, and Novahart's accounts are under FBI investigation." Adrian freezes. Images flash through his mind like a storm. Isabel, money, shady contracts. He recalls her words, "I covered your tracks." A chill runs down his spine. "Her," he whispers. "Who?" the chairman asks, but Adrian doesn't answer. He stands abruptly, leaving the room, the stunned board staring after him. Isabel crosses downtown penthouse, smells of perfume and soft jazz. She sits by the window, a half-burned cigarette between her fingers. When the door bursts open, Adrian storms in like a hunted man. "What did you tell them?" he growls. Isabel raises an eyebrow, her smile slow. "You're panicking, Adrian. Forgot already? I'm just the little mistress. The FBI has Novahart's transfer records. How do they know?" She laughs softly, as if the question is a joke. "Maybe someone wants your blood. Or maybe..." She sets her wineglass down, her eyes gleaming. "You gave yourself away, thinking you could control the world." Adrian grabs her shoulders, his voice cracking. "Did you play me?" Isabel looks into his eyes, fearless. "No, Adrian. I'm just reminding you that people like us who live in mirrors end up swallowed by them." He releases her, stepping back, his eyes wild. For the first time, he knows what it feels to lose everything. Meanwhile, in her small apartment, Maya Turner sits, the computer's glow casting shadows on her weary face. On the screen, an anonymous email to the press. "Novadine, charity money laundering, evidence attached." Her hands tremble, hesitating. Sending it could cost her job, maybe her life. Staying silent makes her complicit. She closes her eyes, takes a deep breath. Click, the email sends. A ding signals a new message. It's Claire. "Thank you." Just 2 words, but enough to make Maya sob. That afternoon, as the investigation news breaks, Novadine becomes a battlefield. Reporters swarm the building. Employees are summoned for questioning. Isabel vanishes without a trace. Adrian is forced to step down as CEO indefinitely. He stands in his empty office, staring through the glass at the city. Tiny cars move like ants under the sunset. Once the king of this place, he's left with nothing but void. On his desk, the wedding photo remains Claire beaming in sunlight, his arm around her. The crack in the glass has widened, splitting their faces with a thin black line. Adrian grabs the frame, hurling it to the floor. Glass shatters. He collapses, hands covering his face, the sound of breaking echoing like a verdict. Across the city, Claire prepares for a TV interview. The stylist brushes her hair, adjusts her dress, but she barely hears. Her mind holds one goal: to speak the truth to the world. When the camera light turns red, the host asks, "Mrs. Dawson, what do you want to say to Adrian Cole?" She looks into the lens, her voice calm, her eyes clear. "I want to thank him. Because of him, I learned that true strength isn't in power, but in rising after being knocked down. And to everyone out there staying silent, don't fear speaking the truth, even if it costs everything, because only then are you truly free." Silence blankets the studio. The host nods faintly. Night falls. The city glows again. In his old apartment, Adrian turns on the TV, seeing Claire on screen. Her voice is warm yet distant. He tries to turn it off, but his finger pauses. Outside, wind howls through the glass, a sound of a crumbling empire. He looks at his reflection in the window. No suit, no aura, just a man broken amid shards. And as Novodyne shakes, a new flame ignites. From the ashes of collapse, Claire Dawson prepares her next step, not revenge, but rebirth. A gray dawn blankets San Francisco, raindrops lingering on glass like the city's tears. On the 12th floor of Stone and Vega's law office, lights burn. In a sealed meeting room, two people who once meant everything to each other sit across a long oak table, separated by an unbridgeable chasm. Claire Dawson wears a gray suit, hair tied neatly, her face bare of makeup. She's no longer the humiliated woman before cameras. She's the one steering the game. Opposite her, Adrian Cole, once Novodyne's king, sits silent, his face gaunt, eyes sunken. His expensive suit looks out of place on his weary frame. He looks at her like a storm approaching. Claire's lawyer, Laura Kim, places a thick stack of files before him. Her voice is icy. "These documents prove Mr. Cole used the Novoheart Foundation to launder money through shell companies. All bear his signature." Adrian is silent. Each page turned is a deeper cut into his pride. He stares at numbers he once approved, never imagining they'd become his conviction. Laura continues, her voice sharp. "You face charges of financial fraud and misuse of public funds. However, Mrs. Dawson is willing to negotiate if you cooperate with the investigation." Negotiate? Adrian looks up, his voice hoarse. What does she want? Money? Claire meets his gaze, unflinching. "I don't need money. I just want the truth." The room falls silent. Rain taps the glass like erratic heartbeats. Adrian laughs dryly, a twisted smile. The truth is I tried to give you a perfect life. Everything I did, the company, the charity, Novodyne was for you." "Stop lying, Adrian." Claire cuts in, her voice so sharp it stops him cold. "You did it for yourself, for the thrill of being worshipped. You didn't build an empire for us. You built it to hide your fear." She pulls a small envelope from her bag, placing it gently on the table. "Did you know? The baby in my womb, your child, has a rare heart condition. The doctor says it'll need surgery right after birth." Adrian freezes. "What?" "That surgery costs millions," Claire continues, each word a hammer blow. "The money you funneled through Novoheart meant to save hundreds of kids like ours disappeared into Isabel Cross's offshore accounts. Do you understand, Adrian? You stole your own child's chance to live." The room feels frozen. Laura lowers her head, leaving space for the two. Adrian's hands tremble, his eyes red. I didn't know. Isabel said it was temporary. I didn't know, or didn't want to know," Claire says softly, her voice quiet but razor sharp. "You let her control you, step by step. And now, when it's all collapsing, who will you blame?" Adrian clutches his head, fingers gripping tight. His body shakes. For the first time, the invincible man looks small. He looks up, eyes wet. "Claire, I'm sorry." She stares at him, then shakes her head. "Sorry doesn't save anyone. Not our child, not the kids in the charity, not you." Outside, thunder rumbles. Lightning reveals their faces, one who lost everything, one who overcame fear to become strong. Claire stands, grabbing her bag. "I don't want to see you in court. Turn yourself in, if you have any conscience left." Laura gathers the files, signaling the meeting's end. But as Claire reaches the door, Adrian calls softly, "Claire, I still love you." She pauses, not turning back. "If your love was real, it wouldn't have been traded for betrayal." She walks out. The door closes with a dry click, the sound of a chapter sealed. Alone, Adrian slumps in his chair, knees buckling, hands covering his face. His mind echoes with sounds, camera flashes, whispers, the scream of falling stocks. But above all is Claire's voice, cold, clear, indelible. He remembers meeting her at a small startup conference in Boston. Her smile, her eyes bright with belief in his every word. That faith lifted him, and now its shattering crushes him. On the table, a pen rolls, tapping a blank sheet. He grabs it, scribbling a few lines, not excuses, but a confession for the authorities, with all bank accounts attached. He signs, sets the paper neatly, and stares outside. The rain slows, the city glows again. But that light is no longer for him. At UCSF Medical Center, Claire sits by a maternity ward window, hand on her belly. She feels the baby's tiny movements, hears the rain outside, her heart calming. The door opens softly. Maya enters with a morning paper. The headline screams, Adrian Cole surrenders, confesses to money laundering, Isabel Cross flees. Maya sets the paper down, silently watching Claire. They say nothing, only clasp hands, two women from opposite ends of the storm, now meeting in peace. Claire looks outside, a faint smile forming. Thank you for not staying silent, Maya. No, you're the one who dared to stand, Maya replies, eyes glistening. A ray of sunlight breaks through the clouds, reflecting on the window, sparkling in Claire's eyes. In that moment, all burdens vanish. Only a mother remains, her heart beating in sync with her unborn child. That evening, in a holding cell, Adrian sits under a dim yellow light. He holds an old photo their wedding, under twinkling chandeliers. He smiles faintly, whispering, I lost everything, only to learn how to truly love. The iron door clanks shut. In the darkness, a sigh echoes not of a ruler, but of a man accepting his own judgment. Above San Francisco, the clouds part. Somewhere in the dawn, a new chapter begins, where love takes the shape, not of power, but of forgiveness. San Francisco's night is strangely quiet. City lights reflect on hospital room glass, stretching into trembling golden streaks. Claire Dawson sits on the bed, gripping the white blanket, sweat beading on her forehead. Each contraction is a wave, painful yet powerful. Outside the hallway, nurses' footsteps echo urgently, red emergency lights flashing. The moment she's awaited and feared has arrived. Push, Claire, the doctor says, voice steady. We're almost there. She closes her eyes, her breathing ragged. Images swirl. Gala flashbulbs, Adrian's face in a cell, Maya's hand squeezing hers as she signed the birth certificate. A cry pierces the air, small, fragile, but straight to her heart. Claire opens her eyes. The red, tiny baby lies in the doctor's hands, a miracle. It's a boy, the nurse says, smiling. He's strong, but we'll move him to the ICU to monitor his heart. Claire nods, tears streaming. His name is Liam, she whispers. Liam Cole Dawson. 3 days later, the ICU glows with the green light of machines. Tubes surround the tiny boy, the steady beep of a ventilator like life's drumbeat. Claire sits beside, her hand gently on his tiny one. Outside, the media still buzzes about her, the woman who toppled Novodyne. But to Claire, titles mean nothing. Her world is now this glass crib where a fragile-hearted boy fights to live. One morning, Maya visits, bringing flowers and a file. Claire, this is the draft plan you asked for, she says, setting it down. The Liam Foundation. Claire nods faintly, her voice tired but her eyes bright. We'll use all the seized Nova Heart funds to build it. No more dirty numbers. It'll be something good. Tired. Maya looks at her, moved. You really want to take on the whole system? You just gave birth, Claire. She smiles faintly, resolute. It's because I'm a mother that I have to. Not just for Liam, but for all the kids with no chance. 2 months later, the Liam Foundation launch takes place at the same Four Seasons where that fateful slap occurred. Today, the Grand Hall shines, no longer a place of deceit, but of rebirth. Claire appears in a pure white gown, hair loose, face serene. She's no longer tragedy's symbol, but proof of resilience. On stage, she speaks to hundreds of reporters, guests, medical reps. Some ask why I named the foundation after my son. Because Liam proves light can come from darkness. My son was born in a storm, but that tiny flame taught me life is worth protecting with love, not money. The room falls silent. No one looks away. The image a woman once broken, now speaking of compassion, stings eyes with tears. Maya stands below, eyes wet. Nearby, a man in a gray suit and low cap bows his head. No one recognizes him. But Maya does. It's Adrian. He stands silently in the back row, avoiding gazes. In his hand, a parole paper after cooperating with authorities and surrendering all assets. Released early, he's lost everything: company, reputation, friends. Only one thing keeps him going: seeing Claire and his son safe. Claire continues, her voice firm. We can't change the past, but we can make it a foundation for something better. Novodyne fell, but from its ashes, something else was born. Not a tech empire, but one of compassion. Applause thunders. Claire bows, stage lights reflecting on her calm, radiant. After the event, the crowd disperses, leaving Maya and Claire. Claire gazes at a large banner with the foundation's logo, a small flame-shaped heart encircled by Liam Foundation, light after the storm. She doesn't know Adrian lingers in the shadows, watching her one last time. He wants to approach, to say something, but his feet won't move. Instead, he pulls a folded letter from his pocket, places it on a nearby table, and slips away. When Claire turns, she sees the envelope with familiar handwriting. To Claire and Liam, from the man who learned to love. From the man, Claire and Liam. She opens it. Inside, a few lines. I don't expect forgiveness. I only hope you and our son are happy. My last assets, the Marina apartment and remaining account, are transferred to the Liam Foundation. I once built a world with ambition. Now, I just want to lay a small brick to rebuild it with compassion. Adrian. Tears stream down her face. But these aren't tears of pain. They're closure. That night, Claire returns home. The Pacific Heights apartment glows with warm light. She enters Liam's room, kissing his sleeping forehead. His steady breaths make her smile. My son, she whispers. Sometimes you have to lose everything to learn to start again. And you are my beginning. Outside, the bay's wind carries the salt and sound of waves. The city hums, but in that small room, all is peaceful. A year later, the Liam Foundation becomes a new icon. Children with heart conditions receive surgeries across America. Hospitals name operating rooms after Liam. The press calls Claire Dawson the flame of humanity. At a Washington, D.C. ceremony, when the MC recounts her journey, Claire says simply, "We can't control the storm, but we can choose to light the darkness." Applause lingers. In that moment, Claire looks up at the blazing lights, smiling. She doesn't know where Adrian is, but in her heart, there's no hatred, only gratitude for finding herself in the wreckage. In San Francisco's heart, Novodyne's old tower light is dark. But elsewhere, thousands of Liam Foundation lights shine, guiding tiny hearts and those once lost. A crisp San Francisco morning dawns unusually clear. The bay's breeze carries coffee from a corner cafe and faint radio music. Claire Dawson reviews the latest quarterly report at the Liam Foundation when her phone buzzes. A call from Interpol. A man's voice, cold and clear. "Mrs. Dawson, this is Agent Renard. We're informing you Isabel Cross was arrested in Zurich this morning." Claire's pen drops. The room seems to compress. That name, a lingering wound, stirs her pulse. "What was she arrested for?" she asks, forcing calm. "Money laundering, international fraud, and extortion. But there's another detail. In her file, we found a bank account opened under your son's name, Liam Cole Dawson." Claire freezes. "What?" "We think you should come to Geneva," the agent continues. "Isabel left something tied directly to the child." 3 days later, Claire lands in Zurich. The Swiss city is cold, draped in thin fog. She wears a long coat, her eyes deep, bare of makeup, radiating resolve. Maya joins her, carrying files and a worried glance. At Interpol's European office, they're led to a small interrogation room. Behind bulletproof glass sits Isabel. Across her blonde hair disheveled, face gaunt, but eyes still sharp. Seeing Claire, she smirks, her cracked lips parting with a hoarse voice. Well, The Queen of Charity finally arrives. Claire stays silent. Maya sits beside her, eyes wary. Isabel tilts her head, her gaze mocking yet dark. Here to see me lose, Claire? Sorry to disappoint, but I haven't lost yet. Why is my son's name in your account? Claire asks, her voice so cold the room seems to shrink. Isabel smirks. Oh, they didn't tell you everything. That account wasn't mine. Adrian opened it 2 years ago, under the Liam Cole Dawson Trust Fund. He asked me to keep it secret until the boy turns 5. Claire is stunned. Why would he do that? Isabel leans back, laughing hoarsely. Maybe guilt, maybe fear, who knows? But one thing I know, he loved you more than himself. He funneled all the laundered money into that fund for your son. I wasn't going to tell, but if I'm going down, you should know he wasn't entirely a devil. Her words hit Claire like a stone in a still lake, ripples crashing. Claire stands, her eyes briefly wet. He's paid his price. What about you? Isabel smiles weakly. I paid with my soul long ago. Leaving Interpol, Maya walks beside Claire, the cold wind stinging their faces. Do you believe her? Claire is silent for a long time. I don't know. But I believe Adrian left something for our son, and I'll find it. 3 days later, Claire returns to San Francisco, heading straight to the international bank Isabel mentioned. The branch manager leads her to a private room, presenting a small steel safe. Mrs. Dawson, per the records, this account was set up by Mr. Adrian Cole, accessible only when Liam turns 5 or by his mother's legal request. Claire signs the papers. The safe opens, revealing not gold or cash, but a gray envelope and a small hard drive. Her hands tremble as she opens the envelope. Inside, a handwritten letter. Claire, if you're reading this, I've no chance to say it in person. I know my apologies aren't enough, but I tried to fix at least one thing. This is the trust fund I wanted for Liam, not to atone, but to show I never stopped loving you both. I was wrong to trust ambition, but right to believe you're stronger than I ever imagined. Tell our son his father fell but stood to be a better man, even if only at the end. Adrian. Claire folds the letter, tears staining the ink. She looks at the hard drive, labeled Project Phoenix. That evening, in the Liam Foundation office, Maya opens the drive. The screen fills with files, dozens of confidential medical software designs Novodyne developed, hidden by Adrian before its collapse. Claire reads each line, realizing it's technology that could save thousands of children with congenital heart defects. A project canceled for being too costly, now before her like a faint light in the dark. He called it Phoenix, Maya whispers, the bird reborn from ashes. Claire smiles faintly, her eyes shimmering. So that's what he left behind. A week later, Claire holds an urgent press conference. Reporters pack the room. She stands at the podium, holding the drive. Today, I announce Project Phoenix, developed by Adrian Cole. The Liam Foundation will fully fund it and share it freely with hospitals. Sometimes, redemption isn't in words, but in what we leave for the next generation. Flashes blaze. Maya watches from the crowd, quietly awed. That night, Claire holds Liam, who smiles, his eyes clear as a morning lake. She kisses his forehead, whispering, "Your father made mistakes, but because of him, you'll save many others." That's how love endures, not in promises, but in actions. Outside, the city glows golden. A shooting star streaks across, reflecting on the glass. Claire looks up, smiling, as if someone smiles back from afar. From the darkness of sin, miracles can bloom. And in the light of forgiveness, love, though flawed, broken, can find its shape again. The financial district's glass towers catch the sharp, cold bay wind. Atop the tallest, the Liam Foundation's logo gleams in the dawn, blazing in San Francisco's sky. But inside, in a vast meeting room bathed in white light, the air is thick as fog before a storm. Claire Dawson stands before a large screen displaying Project Phoenix, prototype launch, alongside vibrant charts. This software, Adrian Cole's final work, analyzes pediatric heart data to predict sudden death risks, saving thousands of lives. And now, it's bait for greed. Across from Claire is Martin Grayson, CEO of Helligene Tech, his perfect smile masking steel-cold eyes. "Mrs. Dawson," he says, voice polite but sharp, We're offering $200 million to secure exclusive commercial rights to Phoenix. It's an offer you can't refuse. Claire meets his gaze, calm yet icy. Phoenix isn't for sale. It was created to save lives, not make profits. Grayson tilts his head, smile intact. The world doesn't run on ideals, ma'am. You think you can sustain a global relief system without profit? I'm not buying tech. I'm buying the future. That's exactly why, Claire replies, her voice slowing, heavy as a drum. I must ensure that future doesn't belong to men like you. After the meeting, Maya catches Claire in the hallway, her steps echoing on marble. Claire, Heligene's the biggest player in healthcare. If we reject them, they'll find another way, maybe steal the tech. They have lawyers, politicians, and major stakeholders in our fund. Claire pauses by a window, gazing at the city's twinkling streets, like veins in a steel beast. Adrian lost his soul believing power was everything, she says softly. I won't repeat that mistake. If Phoenix falls to them, it'll become a weapon to profit off human pain. Maya falls silent. She sees Claire isn't fighting for the past, but for something greater than herself. That night, in a darkened office, Claire sits alone. The computer's glow casts a cold light on her face. On her desk, contracts, investment offers, dazzling but rotten numbers. An email pops up. Mrs. Dawson, we have evidence Phoenix is being illegally copied. Meet me before it's too late. Signed, Lucas Venn, former Novodyne chief engineer. She clenches her fists, rereading the words. A shadow from the past returns, reeking of betrayal. But this time, she's unafraid. A Bayside cafe glows with somber yellow light. Lucas sits in a corner, gaunt, eyes haunted. When Claire arrives, he pulls a USB from his jacket. Phoenix is being copied at Heligene's lab. They're using internal data leaked by someone in your fund. If they release first, you'll lose intellectual property rights. They'll turn Phoenix into a commercial product, strip its free features, and sell it to hospitals as proprietary software. Claire is silent. Each word is a cold blade sliding down her spine. Are you sure? I worked for Adrian, Lucas says, his eyes meeting hers, heavy with guilt. He trusted me. I owe him. And now, I owe you. She takes the USB, her eyes blazing. Thank you, Lucas. This time, we'll protect it to the end. 2 days later, the Foundation's board meets urgently. Some members push to negotiate with Heligene. Others, bought off, try to oust Claire as CEO. You're letting emotions cloud reason, a man's voice rings out. We're sitting on $1 billion technology. If we don't sell, we'll lose everything. Claire stands, her voice urgent yet calm. What does lose everything mean to you? Money? Fame? We lost those when Adrian fell. But from those ashes, we built something money can't buy: human trust. She steps forward, locking eyes with each member. Phoenix isn't just software. It's a symbol of justice. If it becomes a profit tool, we're no better than those who destroyed Novodyne. The room falls silent. No one responds. But Maya's eyes, from the table's end, shine with faith. That night, in her office, Claire opens the window, the city sprawling below. Wind scatters papers like ashes. She thinks of Adrian, of the night he wrote her, saying, "Let the Phoenix live." She whispers, "I'll keep that promise." With Maya, she releases Phoenix's full source code to the global open source community before Heligene can launch a commercial version. Within hours, thousands of coders, doctors, and organizations worldwide download, share, and enhance it. Phoenix no longer belongs to one, it belongs to all. Grayson rages. Media reports. Heligene's stock plummets. But in hospitals, in poor communities, Phoenix begins to work quietly, humanely, tirelessly. A month later, Claire visits the hospital where Liam was treated. In the ER, Phoenix helps doctors diagnose a complex heart case. On the screen, the Phoenix logo spins slowly, its green light reflecting on her face. She smiles faintly. "See, Liam, your father left the world a miracle. I'm just the keeper of the flame." She touches the screen, as if touching Adrian's soul smiling somewhere far away. Night falls. The western sky blazes orange with sunset. Claire stands alone on the Foundation's balcony, wind tossing her hair. She closes her eyes, hearing distant waves. There's no hatred left, only the peace of choosing the right path, one she knows Adrian would be proud of. Justice isn't punishment, but protecting what matters. Phoenix lives not in the hands of the powerful, but in the hearts of those who believe in light. And Claire Dawson, once fallen in darkness, has become a flame no power can extinguish. San Francisco's morning shimmers strangely bright. Sunlight floods the Liam Foundation's massive glass windows, illuminating Claire Dawson's face, now known worldwide as a symbol of compassion. But in her eyes, there's no pride. Only the calm of someone standing at a crossroads between glory and peace. On her desk, stacks of invitations pile high. Offers from governments, global organizations, investors. Everyone wants Claire to partner, speak, shine. But one paper stops her. Indefinite leave request, not yet submitted. Maya enters, holding coffee, her face weary. Claire, the board's waiting. They want to confirm branches in Dubai and Singapore. This is Phoenix's chance to go global. You can't miss it. Claire smiles faintly, her voice soft as a breath. An opportunity or a new chain, Maya. Maya falters. What do you mean? Claire gazes out the window, where clouds drift across a deep blue sky. I've spent my life chasing ideals, fighting, building, protecting. But sometimes, I wonder, in saving the world, are we losing ourselves? The meeting unfolds in a grand room, glass reflecting the city's skyline. Under cold light, 11 board members sit rigid, clutching briefcases. Richard Hale, a stone-faced businessman, looks at Claire through thin glasses. Mrs. Dawson, he says, Phoenix is the century's most vital medical tech, but without commercialization, we can't sustain it. We need capital. Claire responds, her voice light but steel strong. We need ethics first, then money. Another voice cuts in, hoarse. You're dreaming. Ideals don't pay power bills or run global servers. If you truly want to save lives, let experienced businessmen handle it. The words slice the air. All eyes turn to Claire. She stands, stepping to the window, gazing at the old Novodyne Tower, now Helly-Jean West. Do you know what Adrian Cole once said? She asks, her voice low. He said, once justice has a price, it's up for barter. I've seen that price in blood, in tears, and I swear it won't happen again. She turns, her eyes blazing in the sunlight. If you need a director who compromises, I'm not her. If you need someone to keep the flame, I'll stay, but I won't let Phoenix become a commodity. A heavy minute passes. Richard sighs. So you choose the hardest path. Claire smiles. I don't choose. I just follow the path Adrian started. After, Maya finds Claire on the rooftop. The city sprawls below like a map of memories, tears, betrayal, rebirth. They won't let this go, Maya says, worried. If you don't sign, they could force you out. Claire looks at her, eyes gentle. I know, but if I leave, at least I leave true to myself. Maya is silent, then says softly, you're not just the founder, you're this organization's soul. Claire smiles faintly. Every flame must be passed on, Maya. Phoenix doesn't need me to survive. It needs people like you, honest, unafraid of the dark. She places a hand on Maya's shoulder. If I go, will you stay? Maya nods, eyes glistening. For you, for Phoenix. 3 days later, a press conference fills the main hall. Hundreds of reporters crowd in, cameras flashing like fireworks. Claire steps to the podium, in a simple black dress, hair tied back, face calm. Ladies and gentlemen, she begins, her voice clear through the mic. Today I step down as CEO of the Liam Foundation. A wave of gasps ripples through. She raises a hand for silence. Phoenix doesn't belong to me. It belongs to everyone who believes compassion can change the world. I'm not leaving because I failed, but because I believe it's time for Phoenix to fly without its mother holding its wings. Her voice trembles slightly, but her eyes don't waver. I don't want to be an icon. I just want to be human again, to love, to be forgiven, to live simply. Applause rises, swelling into a wave. But in Claire's heart, there's only calm. That afternoon, she leaves the building through a side door, dodging reporters. Maya chases after, hugging her tightly. Thank you for teaching me to believe in good, Maya says, choking up. Claire smiles, whispering, don't believe in me. Believe in the light inside you. She turns, walking slowly down the windy sidewalk. Each step is a goodbye. A month later, in Napa Valley's suburbs, Claire lives in a small hillside house. Each morning, she takes Liam to the garden, where sunlight filters through grapevines and the breeze carries fresh earth. No more meetings, no more cameras. Just her son's laughter and birds chirping on the tiled roof. One afternoon, as Liam plays with a paper plane, he asks, "Mom, do you miss the place you used to work?" Claire smiles, kissing his forehead. "I do, but I love it more here, where you are, where the light doesn't need guarding." That evening, she writes in her journal. The final line trembles under her hand. Justice doesn't need applause. It just needs to be lived every day, through the smallest acts, through how we love, forgive, and start again. Outside, the sunset spills, its glow reflecting like a phoenix's wings. Claire closes her eyes, smiles, and lets the wind carry her final whisper. "Fly, Phoenix. It's time you belong to the world." And in that moment where light touches earth, it dawns that glory isn't at the peak, but where we pause, smile, and let go. Napa Valley's morning is eerily serene. Sunlight pierces the mist, gilding the vineyards and rolling hills like silken waves. In a small house nestled at the hill's base, Claire Dawson sits on the porch, a warm tea in hand, her eyes watching steam rise and dissolve. 5 years have passed since she left the Liam Foundation. The world has changed. Phoenix, once deemed an impossible miracle, is now a global platform. Operating in over 60 countries, it saves millions of children with heart conditions. Each time a tiny heart is revived, the Phoenix logo glows on hospital screens, a reminder that light rises from ashes. But Claire is no longer at the center. She lives quietly with her son Liam Cole Dawson, now 8. He has his mother's bright eyes and his father's gentle smile, known only through bedtime stories. That morning, Liam runs up with papers in hand. "Mom, I finished my essay for class." Claire sets her tea down, smiling. "Let me see." He reads aloud, his voice clear. "When I grow up, I want to create light. Not light from bulbs, but light that gives hope. Mom says Dad did that with technology, and she did it with faith. I want to do both." Claire stills. In that moment, her heart feels stitched with golden thread. The old pain is gone, only quiet pride remains. That afternoon, they drive to San Francisco for Project Phoenix's 10th anniversary. Maya Torres, now the Liam Foundation's CEO, greets them at the convention center's lobby, alive with flowers, lights, and laughter. "God, Claire." Maya hugs her tightly. "You really came." "This time, I'm just a guest." Claire laughs. "I don't belong to the spotlight anymore." Maya shakes her head. "No way. Phoenix wouldn't exist without you. They still call you the mother of the flame." Claire smiles, half shy, half nostalgic. She looks around. Screens display recovering patients, doctors, saved children. But what moves her most is the glass wall's inscription. "Phoenix lives through those who dare to believe." The ceremony begins. Maya takes the stage, light bathing her face, the once student now a new guide. "We're here not to celebrate technology," she says, "but courage, the courage of a woman who put justice above power and left us a flame that never fades." The room rises as Claire's image appears on screen, not as a hero, but holding Liam, her eyes gently gazing at her son like he's the future. Light spills onto the audience, where Claire sits quietly, holding Liam's hand. He looks up, whispering, "Mom, they're talking about you." "No, sweetheart," she replies, voice trembling. "They're talking about what your father began, and the flame you'll carry on." After, Maya pulls Claire to the rooftop, where San Francisco's sunset blazes. Birds soar past the sun, light glinting like gold flecks. "Claire," Maya says, "we want to name the new research center the Dawson Institute. It'll develop Phoenix 2 tech to predict genetic diseases in kids early, but only if you agree to lend your name." Claire is silent, gazing at the city where Adrian dreamed, fell, and where she rose in his place. "No," she says softly. "Name it the Cole Center. Adrian deserves it more." Maya starts to speak, but Claire continues. "He got lost believing the world belonged to the strong, but in his final moment, he gave the world its strongest gift, compassion. Don't let his name fade." Maya smiles, tears welling. "You always know how to make things right." That night, Back in Napa, Liam sits by the window, staring at the sky. He points to a bright star. "Mom, is that Dad's star?" Claire nods faintly. "Yes, sweetheart. It's where he watches us." "Then I'll work to make him proud," Liam says, eyes sparkling. "I'll learn to create light, like you and Dad." She hugs him close, whispering, "No, Liam. Don't be like us. Be better. Let your light shine without needing a storm to spark it." He smiles, nestling into her. Outside, wind weaves through the vines, carrying earth's scent and a new season's warmth. The next morning, Claire gets an email from Maya. "Phoenix 2 launched. We named the core algorithm LCD, Liam Cole Dawson. Your son's light will now shine across the world." Claire sits still, tears falling, but her lips curve into a smile. She looks out the window, where the sun rises over the hills, its gold reflecting on glass like a phoenix's wings spreading again. That afternoon, Liam runs to the garden, holding a paper plane high. "Phoenix, take off!" he shouts, launching it into the wind. The plane spins, soars, glinting in the sunset. Claire watches, heart swelling. In that moment, she knows the flame never dies. It passes on, from one to another, as Adrian passed it to her, and she to her son. The world doesn't need saviors. It needs ordinary people daring to shine, and when that light is passed on, it becomes the only thing that makes humanity immortal. Phoenix is reborn, no longer a project, but a legacy. No longer one person's story, but everyone's journey. On Napa's final night, Claire Dawson sits by the window, listening to the wind through the vines and Liam's clear laughter echoing in the dark. She smiles, hands resting on an old journal, her companion through countless storms. Its yellowed pages recount a woman who fell, lost, then rose from ashes. She writes one last line. "I once thought justice was light piercing darkness. Now I know, justice is the small flame in each of us smoldering, but never extinguished." The wind stirs, the candle on the table flickers, its light dancing on the wall. Claire closes the journal, shuts her eyes, letting the candle's warmth touch her soul. Tomorrow, she and Liam will leave Napa for a new place where no one knows her name, where glory isn't needed, only light. Outside, dawn begins. A streak of light crosses the sky, like a phoenix spreading its wings. And there, without applause, without flashes, Claire smiles. She has found true justice, peace.
My God, how could it be her? That weekend, Richard Ellison confidently brought his mistress to the Aurelius Hotel, New York's pinnacle of luxury. A presidential suite, a Michelin-starred dinner, a secret world he crafted perfectly. To Richard, his wife was just a safe shadow, a woman too meek to question, too quiet to interfere. He believed she'd never know. But in the gilded glow and crystal light, cracks began to form. Strange embroidered initials, cryptic glances from staff, and then Evelyn's arrival. She was no longer the silent wife standing behind her husband. Pregnant, she stood as the new chairwoman of the hotel empire. In that moment, Richard realized his romantic weekend had turned into a public verdict, and this time, no amount of money could buy his escape. Golden afternoon light bounces off the glass panels of the Ellison Tower, turning the city into a mirrored labyrinth. In a corner suite on the 47th floor, Richard Ellison stands still. His silhouette stretches long across the gleaming wooden floor. Below him, Manhattan sprawls like a giant circuit board. Streams of light pulse. Roads weave into a grid of power he believes he controls. He adjusts his cuff, revealing a gleaming Patek Philippe watch, then turns to the mirror. His navy-tailored suit fits like a second skin. The silk tie is knotted tightly, each stitch a bold declaration of arrogance. Richard doesn't just wear a suit, he wears status, the conviction that he was born to walk over others. In his mind, this weekend isn't a getaway. It's a stage, a secret performance where he's both director and star. The sole audience, Chloe Matthews, 25, with wavy blonde hair, whiskey-colored eyes, and endless admiration for him. To Richard, she's the flame that ignites his ego, something Evelyn, his wife, never gave and never will. Evelyn Davenport. Her name slides through his mind like a flat note. The wife he chose 15 years ago, daughter of an old but stable family, a quiet woman, forgettable. In their sprawling Park Avenue home, she's like a painting on the wall, elegant, expensive, but static. Richard loves that convenience. Evelyn never questions, never probes when he works late, when vague calls come at midnight. To him, she's a safe asset, a blue-chip stock paying steady dividends. And for that, boring. Chloe is different. Chloe laughs loudly, lighting up every room. Chloe touches him with hungry eyes, and each time, Richard feels young again. Not just a middle-aged man in a suit. He's a conqueror, a king without a throne but capable of turning any place into his domain. His phone buzzes on the walnut desk. A text from Chloe. "Ready for paradise, Richard?" He smiles, the smile of a man who knows he controls everything. On the screen, his face reflects faintly a man at his peak, for whom every door opens with a single call. He's scripted this carefully. To Evelyn, he spoke of an urgent conference in Zurich, Swiss banks, international rates, enough jargon to keep her uninterested. He even packed fake documents in his suitcase to play the part. Evelyn, as always, quietly folded his clothes, placed his blood pressure pills beside his shirts, and sent him off with a cool, polite smile. Richard sees it as a silent victory. His wife is too docile, too predictable, and thus invisible in his game. He leaves home like a man untouchable by guilt, a king departing his castle for another kingdom, unworried about being recognized. A black Bentley waits in the lobby. He slides into the back seat, inhaling the scent of Italian leather mixed with sandalwood from a diffuser. The city recedes behind soundproof glass. Richard relaxes, closes his eyes, picturing Chloe entering the hotel lobby, her eyes wide as she sees him waiting. That thought alone sends a rush through his veins, like a hit of dopamine. Tonight, they'll step through the doors of Aurelius, New York's most opulent hotel, where Richard believes every secret can be buried under money and power. There, they'll toast under crystal chandeliers, break every rule together, and he'll prove that in this world, Richard Ellison gets whatever he wants. He doesn't know that in this lavish temple, another throne awaits, and it's not for him. Dear viewers, grab a glass of water, take a moment to relax, and keep listening to this story. Shocking twists are still ahead. Please leave a comment below to let me know where you're watching from and what time it is. It's exciting to see who's following us from around the world. Rate 1 in the comments if you find this story gripping, so we can keep bringing you more thrilling tales. The Bentley glides smoothly along Fifth Avenue, cutting through traffic like a predator through a herd. New York darkens, neon lights flare, casting a chaotic glow of money and desire on Richard's face. Beside him, Chloe leans toward the window, her green eyes wide, drinking in every shimmering light. As the car turns into the plaza before Aurelius Hotel, Chloe's heart skips a beat. The hotel's tower looms majestically, its facade of white marble laced with gleaming brass accents. The ground floor opens like a triumphal arch, where massive chandeliers spill golden light like honey. Every detail exudes the authority of an ancient empire. Richard leans back, a smug smile curling his lips. This is the moment he's waited for. The moment his young mistress realizes she's being pulled into a world few can enter. He squeezes Chloe's hand as the doorman, in a deep green uniform, opens the door with a bow honed by decades of practice. Stepping into the lobby, Chloe is breathless. The soaring ceiling is hand-painted with mythological frescoes, Greek gods lounging on clouds, gazing down at mortals below. Crystal chandeliers hang densely, each prism reflecting light like a star trapped in a storm. The Italian marble floor gleams like a chessboard, polished to mirror the figures above. Soft music drifts from a corner, a piano's lively yet refined notes, blending with the clink of crystal glasses and the faint squeak of leather shoes on stone. The air carries sandalwood mixed with aged wine, a scent of enduring power. Chloe clings to Richard's arm, feeling like a princess in a palace. Richard is different. He strides like he owns the place. No gazing at the ceiling, no glancing back, no awe. To him, Aurelius isn't a place to admire, it's a place to possess. He's the one who spends, the one this entire staff exists to serve. He's here not to marvel at beauty, but to flaunt his power to Chloe. At the dark mahogany reception desk, Richard pulls out his black centurion card, placing it down with a casual flick. The receptionist, a young woman with neatly pinned hair and a professional smile, recognizes the card's weight instantly. "Welcome, Mr. Ellison," she says, her voice light but significant. "The presidential suite is ready. We've chilled a Krug 2008 as per your request." Chloe's jaw drops slightly, but Richard only nods, as if it's expected. He turns to her, whispering, "See, darling? Here, every door opens with my name." Chloe's eyes sparkle with awe and desire, exactly as Richard wants. The porter, an elderly man with silver hair and a ramrod straight back, leads them to a private elevator. Its brass-lined doors close, enveloping them in luxurious silence. The interior is red velvet, golden light reflecting off brass handrails. Chloe grips Richard's hand, her breath quick. "I can't believe I'm here," she whispers. Richard smiles, brushing a kiss on her cheek, like a king granting favor to a loyal subject. The elevator opens to a private foyer. Double dark wood doors, intricately carved, swing open to reveal the presidential suite, a space more like a penthouse than a hotel room. Floor-to-ceiling windows frame New York's skyline. A grand piano sits in one corner, a blackwood bar is stocked with rare liquors, and the bedroom sprawls with a four-poster bed draped in satin. Chloe steps in, spinning in the center, her laughter echoing off gold-trimmed walls. "Richard, this place, it's like a dream." He leans against the doorframe, arms crossed, eyes brimming with pride. "No, darling, this is real life. This is how I live. And now, so do you." The porter silently sets down their luggage, handing Richard a heavy gold-plated keycard. "Anything you need, press the private call button. You have full access to our 24/7 services." Richard slips him a tip, nodding dismissively. The doors close. They're alone in a world suspended above the clouds. Richard pours Krug into 2 crystal flutes, joining Chloe on the velvet sofa. They clink glasses. "To a perfect weekend," he says. "To us," she replies. The champagne's bubbles dance on Richard's tongue like a victory anthem. But as he sets his glass down, his eyes catch something. On a neatly folded napkin, a silver-stitched monogram glints. 2 interlocking letters, E.D. Richard freezes for a fleeting moment, his fingers brushing the cold thread. Evelyn Davenport. His wife's name flashes through his mind. He blinks, forcing a chuckle. "Just a coincidence," he mutters, then raises his glass, draining it. The first morning light slips through thick silk curtains, casting thin golden streaks across the Persian rug in the presidential suite. Richard Ellison wakes in rare ease, the pillow so soft it swallows his head, the city's noise blocked by soundproof glass. Chloe remains curled in satin sheets, her blonde hair spilling messily over her shoulders, her face serene like a luxury dream. Richard steps into the marble-tiled bathroom. The shower's water steams the mirror. He wraps himself in a plush white robe, tying it tightly, then pauses. On the robe's lapel, glinting under the light, is a delicate silver monogram, E.D. He frowns, his fingers trace the stitching, the cold thread biting his skin. E.D. Another coincidence. His mind echoes with the name, Evelyn Davenport. He laughs dryly, alone, then brushes it off. "Just a brand," he whispers. But back in the living area, he starts seeing it everywhere. On the stationery neatly placed on the mahogany desk, an embossed E.D. On the corner of linen napkins, on the silver sugar bowl clasp, even on the leather room service menu. Everywhere, those 2 letters, interwoven, proud, repeating like a drumbeat in his chest. Richard feels a vague unease. Not quite fear, more like hearing a discordant note in a perfect symphony. He's a man who reads people in boardrooms, spotting hesitation in a blink, a grip too tight. Now he's surrounded by signs he can't decipher in a place he thought he ruled. A knock at the door. Henderson, the butler, enters, pushing a gleaming silver breakfast cart. Fluffy scrambled eggs, fresh truffle, warm pastries, thinly sliced smoked salmon, and a silver coffee pot. The aroma fills the air, briefly easing his unease. Richard nods, forcing a casual tone. "What's this logo, E.D.? The hotel's founder?" Henderson pauses, just long enough for Richard to notice. He bows slightly. "It's a long-standing emblem, sir. It signifies ownership." "Ownership," The word lands in Richard's mind like a pebble in a still lake, rippling endlessly. Henderson offers no more, leaving quickly, the room thick with coffee scent and heavy silence. Chloe wakes, pulling the sheets, sitting up like an excited child. She grabs her phone, snapping photos of the breakfast tray. "Oh my God, Richard, look at this. I've never seen anything so fancy." Her voice is bright, oblivious to the unease coiling around him. He forces a smile, sitting at the table, but his coffee cup trembles slightly. Evelyn Davenport. That name again. Like a whisper in his ear. Evelyn, the wife he deemed harmless, invisible, existing only to maintain his perfect family facade. Evelyn, the woman he never thought about beyond mandatory dinners and social events. Evelyn Davenport. Could it be? Richard shakes his head, sipping bitter coffee, trying to drown the thought. Coincidences happen daily. A name means nothing. He's just overstressed. Yet, as Chloe leans across the table, her eyes sparkling, her smile radiant, Richard sees Evelyn's face flash in his mind. Evelyn with her calm eyes, her subtle smile. The contrast knots his stomach. For the first time in 15 years, he realizes he never truly looked at Evelyn. He only looked past her, like she was expensive furniture. All day, Richard can't escape those letters. At the spa, by the private pool, on the balcony overlooking Manhattan, his eyes keep catching ED. The more he dismisses it, the more it haunts him. A vague feeling grows, as if this hotel isn't his domain, but someone else's. Night falls. Chloe slips into a fiery red dress, ready for the Michelin-starred dinner Richard reserved. She twirls before the mirror, asking innocently, "Do I look like a woman who belongs here?" Richard looks at her, but in the mirror, Evelyn's face appears. For the first time in years, a chill runs down his spine. He forces a smile, takes Chloe's hand, and leads her to the private elevator. But in his chest, the whisper repeats, E-D, E-D, E-D. And somewhere deep down, he starts to realize he's not the one writing the script here. He might just be a supporting character, walking straight into someone else's trap. The chandeliers in Aurelius's dining room blaze like a private universe. Each crystal prism reflects candlelight, creating a sea of stars above tuxedoed guests and women in evening gowns. Soft music weaves through the air, a violin's gentle notes blending with the clink of cutlery and the murmur of wealthy conversations. Richard and Chloe are led to a private table in a velvet-curtained alcove. The manager, a slender Frenchman, bows deeply, his voice reverent. "A pleasure to serve you, Mr. Ellison. This is our exclusive table for honored guests." Richard leans back, his gaze smug. Chloe sits across, her face glowing under candlelight, her backless red dress a streak of fire in the gilded room. She looks around, eyes wide, whispering, "I never thought I'd be somewhere like this." Richard lifts his Krug champagne, clinking her glass, a smirk on his lips. "This isn't just dinner, it's a way of life. And you will get used to it." The courses arrive. Fresh oysters on a bed of misty ice, seared scallops with a citrus foam, veal braised in red wine for 6 hours. Chloe is enraptured, gasping softly with each bite. Richard, like a king, recounts his deals, the rivals he crushed. His words flow like a manifesto of power, and Chloe listens like a devout follower. He raises a glass of vintage Bordeaux, the light catching his confident face. In that moment, Richard believes he's scripted this universe. Every detail from the chandeliers to Chloe's adoring eyes is arranged to affirm his dominance. Then, the air shifts. It's subtle at first, a pause in the violin's rhythm, a waiter standing straighter than usual. Conversations around them soften. Laughter fades. Richard raises an eyebrow, leaning back, sensing the room's energy shift toward the entrance. The wooden doors open. A small group enters, led by a woman. Richard freezes. The wine glass in his hand grows heavy, his fingers like stone. It's Evelyn. But not the Evelyn he knows, the quiet woman in cashmere sweaters and pearl necklaces. This Evelyn is different. She wears a midnight blue tailored suit, its cut accentuating her slender frame, her pregnant belly subtly visible. Her hair, usually loose, is swept into an elegant updo, revealing a face radiant with a presence Richard has never seen. Diamond earrings catch the light like shards of ice. Each step, her heels click on the marble floor. Steady, deliberate, like a drum roll before a verdict. Beside her are two men. One, a silver-haired corporate lawyer, eyes sharp as a blade. The other, Aurelius's general manager, deferential in his posture. They follow her like guards escorting a queen. The dining room falls silent. Forks hover, breaths catch. Chloe turns, curious, then slowly looks back at Richard. His face is ashen, lips parted, voiceless. Evelyn strides forward, her gaze sweeping the tables, then locking onto Richard's red-curtained alcove. No shock, no tears, just a chilling calm. Not the look of a betrayed wife, the look of someone in absolute control. Richard feels the blood drain from his face. 1,000 excuses shatter in his mind. He glances around, seeing pitying eyes, whispering lips, Chloe trembling as she sets down her glass. Evelyn is only steps away. Her familiar perfume wafts through the air, a scent he hasn't noticed on her in years. But now, it's sharp, like a winter wind. She stops. Her eyes pin him. In the heavy silence, her voice rings out, calm, commanding. Richard, I believe you're sitting in the wrong seat. The words slice through the air like a blade. Richard freezes. Chloe gasps, her eyes darting from the pregnant woman to the man beside her. The dining room silence is so thick, heartbeats echo. In that moment, Richard knows. The stage he built has collapsed, and he's not the star. He's the prey. In the gold-gilded room of Aurelius, silence blankets everything. So dense every breath reverberates. Evelyn stands tall, her hand resting lightly on her pregnant belly, her eyes never leaving Richard. Her words, "You're sitting in the wrong seat," hang like a thin, icy blade, shredding the illusion Richard wrapped himself in all weekend. He opens his mouth, scrambling for an explanation, but his throat is dry. Chloe, trembling beside him, whispers, "Richard, is she your wife?" Evelyn doesn't glance at Chloe. To her, the young mistress is a cheap trinket, out of place in this palace. Her focus remains on Richard, like a judge awaiting a defendant's final plea. Then her voice rings out, steady, resonant, filling the room. "I think it's time to make something clear. As of last week, Davenport Hospitality has a new chairwoman, and that's me." The words hit like lightning. The room holds its breath. Richard blinks rapidly, his face blank. The letters E, D, on, napkins, robes, stationary floodback, piecing together a horrifying truth. No coincidence, no random chance. Evelyn, his wife, is the true owner of this hotel. She takes another step, her voice calm but cutting like a verdict. Richard Ellison, esteemed bank vice president, lied to his wife about a business trip to Zurich. He came here, with his mistress, to enjoy the presidential suite in my hotel. Whispers erupt around the room, curious, pitying, even gleeful. Chloe flushes, her trembling hands clutching the tablecloth. Richard feels the world tilt, but he forces out words. "Evelyn, I can explain." She cuts him off, her voice icy. "No need. I've gathered enough evidence over the past 3 years. Bank statements, photos, messages. I let you tie your own noose." Richard is stunned, each word a hammer blow. He, the man who thought he puppeteered, everyone realizes he's the puppet in the hands of the woman he underestimated. Evelyn lifts her chin, her eyes blazing. "The joint bank account is frozen. The Park Avenue apartment held in my family's trust you no longer have access to. Your belongings are being packed. As for your job?" She glances at the silver-haired lawyer beside her, Abernathy, and continues. "He's sent a full dossier to your bank's board. Photos, illicit transfers to your mistress. It's all on their desks. By Monday, you'll be out." The air explodes with gasps. Chloe turns to Richard, eyes brimming with tears. "Oh God, will I lose my job?" Evelyn glances at Chloe for the first time, her gaze cold enough to make the girl shiver. "Miss Matthews, a junior employee involved with her direct superior? A gross violation of professional ethics. You've destroyed your own career." Chloe sobs, mascara streaking her face. Richard reaches for her, but pulls back under Evelyn's piercing stare. Her voice stays even, each word heavy. Richard, you turned me into a shadow. You thought I'd stay silent, just a decorative piece. You were wrong. I waited. I prepared. And today, in my domain, I take everything back. Richard feels the velvet chair turn cold beneath him. The candlelit room now feels like a courtroom. Every eye from surrounding tables pins him, a man stripped of glory, turned into a spectacle by his pregnant wife. He tries, desperate. Evelyn, for God's sake, think of the children. Evelyn's hand rests on her belly, her gaze unwavering. I am thinking of them, and they'll grow up without seeing a greedy, treacherous father who built castles on sand. The violin shifts to a sharper, urgent melody, as if scoring an execution. Richard wants to stand, to run, but his legs are nailed to the floor. Evelyn leans forward, placing a thick stack of papers on the table. Divorce documents, meticulously drafted. A silver pen rests on top, gleaming under candlelight. You'll sign, and you'll leave with nothing. If you resist, I'll destroy the Ellison name. Every mention of it will mean failure and shame. Richard stares at the papers, the ink blurring before his eyes. The room holds its breath, waiting for his next move. The red room is silent, save for the faint crackle of burning candles. Richard stares at the divorce papers, his hands trembling, sweat beading on his forehead. Once, his signature moved millions, swayed markets. Now, the silver pen before him feels like a sword at his throat. Evelyn sits across, back straight, her gaze calm but ruthless. Chloe huddles beside him, her face streaked with mascara, shaking like a lost child. Eyes from other tables mix curiosity, pity, and something close to glee. Richard's voice cracks. Evelyn, please, at least let us talk privately. Evelyn shakes her head slowly. No, Richard, you made our marriage a performance. The finale deserves an audience. A silver spoon clatters onto a plate, like a gavel strike. Richard's head bows, his hands clench, then fall limp. He grabs the pen, signing with a shaky, distorted scrawl. Evelyn nods, her face expressionless, like a judge sealing a preordained verdict. In that moment, Richard realizes everything he thought was his was taken in minutes. And the worst pain, it's happening not in secret, but under the watchful eyes of high society. The restaurant manager approaches, placing a leather folder on the table. His voice is low, polite, but cold. Your bill, Mr. Ellison. Richard snatches it, desperate to reclaim some shred of authority. He pulls out his wallet, slapping down the black centurion card with the gesture of a wealthy man. The waiter bows and leaves. A minute passes. Then two. The manager returns, his face apologetic, his eyes blank. I'm sorry, sir. The card was declined. Richard's head snaps up, blood rushing to his face. Impossible. Run it again. We tried 3 times, sir. The account appears frozen. Whispers ripple through the room. Richard fumbles for another card, his corporate visa. The waiter shakes his head after swiping. Also declined. The air grows suffocating. Chloe covers her face, tears streaming. Richard feels his skin being peeled away under the crowd's scrutiny. A man who once moved billions can't pay for his mistress's dinner. He stands, voice breaking. There's a mistake. I'm Richard Ellison. His words choke as the hotel's general manager, the man who accompanied Evelyn, steps forward, his tone firm. Sir, without a valid payment method, we must consider this theft of services. The warning hits like a thunderbolt. Richard's legs weaken. Evelyn sits still, her hand on her belly, eyes unblinking. Without another word, she watches her husband's total collapse. 2 security guards appear behind Richard. They don't touch him, but their presence is enough. He stammers, I'll pay. I just need to call. Mr. Ellison, the manager says sharply, you have 10 minutes to collect your belongings and leave the premises. Chairs shuffle as whispers grow louder. Chloe sobs loudly, shoving her chair back, her red dress streaking across the marble floor like blood left after a battle. Richard stands alone, the world crushing down. As he's escorted through Aurelius's lobby, the chandeliers still sparkle. but their light feels like 1,000 cold eyes. The doorman who once bowed now avoids his gaze, opening the revolving door mechanically. Outside, a drizzle begins. Richard's coat soaks through in minutes. He stands on the curb, the Bentley gone registered to Evelyn, of course. He reaches for his phone, tries to call a ride. Uber declines. All linked cards are invalid. The man once called the King of Wall Street stands stranded in Manhattan, in a drenched suit, clutching an empty wallet, eyes vacant. All that remains of his empire is a soaked, shivering shell under the rain. He looks up through the drizzle, the Aurelius Tower glowing like a throne suspended in the sky. But that throne was never his. Never was. For the first time, Richard understands. He wasn't the master of paradise. He was an intruder, just cast out, naked, humiliated, with nothing left. The drizzle stings like tiny needles piercing his skin. Richard Ellison stands on the sidewalk before Aurelius, his coat clinging to his body, heavy like a garment of guilt he can't shed. Limousines glide by, their dark windows reflecting the hotel's chandeliers, the opulence he's been exiled from. A taxi honks, spotting him standing lost. Richard raises a hand, then lets it fall. No cards, no cash. Evelyn stripped him bare. He digs through his pockets, finding a few damp coins, not enough for a single ride. His phone blinks, 9% battery. He opens the ride app. Payment failed, update method. He swallows hard, dialing familiar numbers. Friends who smoked cigars with him in VIP lounges, who clinked 50-year-old whiskey glasses. No one answers. Some hang up after 2 rings. The rain grows heavier, as if the city wants to wash him away. Richard walks, each step sluggish, his soaked leather shoes splashing on gray pavement. Each stride echoes the glittering light behind him. Aurelius's beacon, shining for those who belong, not for him. He finds a small bar in a narrow street. Its foggy glass door opens to a dim yellow glow. He pushes in, a bell jingling faintly. The air reeks of cheap liquor and stale smoke. He sits on a creaky wooden stool, ordering the cheapest bourbon. The bartender glances at his drenched suit, shrugs, and sets a glass down. Richard lifts it, the liquid burning his throat, but it can't warm the humiliation scorching inside. He pulls out his phone, scrolling contacts, stopping at Frank Donovan, a junior associate who once looked at him like a monument. He dials. After a few rings, Frank's voice answers, weary, cautious. Richard? God, I was just about to call you. Frank, I'm in trouble. Evelyn, she... Richard tries to explain, but his voice fractures, words jumbled. He talks about Aurelius, the divorce papers, the declined cards. His words spill like a drowning man clutching at anything. A long pause on the other end. Then Frank, low and slow. Richard, I got an email from the board. They're holding an emergency meeting Monday, and you're the topic. Richard grips the phone, heart pounding. No, that's impossible. Evelyn sent everything. Photos, statements, details of unauthorized transfers. They're citing ethics violations. Richard, you're getting fired. The rain drums on the bar's roof, merging with Richard's racing pulse. He opens his mouth, but nothing comes out. The sounds around him fade, as if he's being sucked into a vast void. Frank continues, voice hoarse. I can't help. Everyone's siding with her. I'm sorry. The call cuts off. The screen goes black. Battery dead. Richard sets the phone on the damp wooden counter, staring at the empty bourbon glass. A throbbing pain pulses in his temples. In his eyes, the bar's dim yellow lights blur, becoming the 100 mocking gazes from Aurelius's dining room. He laughs, a hollow, empty sound echoing in the small room. The bartender looks puzzled, but Richard doesn't care. The truth dawns. No money, no home, no job. Evelyn didn't just take everything. She erased him, inside and out. Outside, the rain pounds the tin roof, like an endless funeral dirge. Richard slumps, his expensive suit now just wet fabric, no different from a rusted knight's armor. He closes his eyes, hearing the rain mix with the violin from that fateful dinner. Each note tears at his final mask. For the first time, Richard Ellison feels utterly exposed. No king, no throne, just a trembling man in the dark. 6 weeks after the Aurelius night, Richard Ellison drags a rattling suitcase up the narrow stairs of a dilapidated building in outer Queens. Each step creaks, the air thick with mold and fried food from the apartment below. The peeling green door before him, marked 4B, is chipped, paint flaking like an unhealed wound. This is his new home. The apartment opens to a cramped space. Stained walls, yellowed ceiling. A tiny window facing a gray brick wall. A flickering fluorescent light casts a cold, alien glow. The warped wooden floor groans with each step. Richard sets his suitcase down, the sound hollow in the silence. A silence unlike the opulent stillness of before this is the silence of poverty, oppressive, confining. He sits on a plastic chair by a rickety wooden table, face buried in his hands. For a decade, he lived in a Park Avenue penthouse, with frescoed ceilings and windows framing Manhattan's glow. Now his only window reveals a stained brick wall. His world has shrunk to 4 suffocating walls. At first, Richard clung to scraps of pride. He wore his suit to Apex Solutions, a small, obscure financial firm that hired him for compliance checks. The office is a windowless room under fluorescent lights, young colleagues eyeing him with disdain or pity. His new boss, 15 years his junior, tosses a thick stack of files on his desk. Enter these by this afternoon. Work once given to interns. Richard stares at the outdated computer, each keystroke a stab at his past. From orchestrating billion-dollar deals, he now inputs soulless data. Each tap reminds him his power is gone. Evenings, he returns to this musty apartment, switching on an old, staticky TV with 5 channels. On the news, Evelyn appears, speaking at a hospitality conference. She's in a white suit, her pregnant belly prominent, her stance regal. The ticker reads, Evelyn Davenport, new chairwoman, shaping a sustainable future. Richard slams off the TV, hurling the remote, its plastic cracking sharply. But her image lingers. The woman he dismissed now hailed as a queen of a new era, and he just a forgotten man in a moldy apartment. On rainy days, the ceiling leaks, water dripping into a tin bucket. Richard lies on a stiff single bed, hearing the drip, recalling the marble bathroom, the jacuzzi facing the skyline. The contrast cuts deeper. One evening, he opens his suitcase, finding remnants. A Patek Philippe watch, gold cufflinks, a few small paintings. He takes them to a pawn shop. The owner glances over, smirking. I'll give you half value. Richard nods, no haggling. Each item sold is a small death, a piece of his crown dismantled. Bit by bit, his throne vanishes, leaving only a bare shell. Late at night, Richard sits by the tiny window, staring at the black brick wall. In the dark, he sees Aurelius, its grand lobby, crystal chandeliers, Evelyn in her navy suit, eyes blazing. He clenches his fist, but it trembles, falling limp, nothing left to grasp. Outside the hall, neighbors argue, sirens wail, pipes clank, a symphony of poverty he's forced to hear nightly. In his heart, a vast emptiness opens. Not just the loss of money, home, or job. He's lost his identity. He's no longer the king of Wall Street. Just a man in a cheap apartment, drowning in darkness, discarded by the city that once worshipped him. In the mirror, his hollow eyes reflect a stranger, a man lost, without throne or crown, only desolation. A fall morning. Sunlight spills like golden silk across Fifth Avenue. The Davenport Tower rises proudly, its glass facade mirroring Manhattan's blue sky. On the top floor, the chairwoman's office stretches like a palace in the clouds. Evelyn Davenport sits, hands resting lightly on a polished mahogany desk, light illuminating her serene yet commanding face. She wears a pristine white suit, her pregnant belly clear beneath the fabric, her posture steady, regal. Her eyes, once ignored by Richard, now burn like fire. Behind her, the interlocking ED logo gleams on the wall, a permanent mark of her reign. The boardroom on the 45th floor is packed. Board members sit around an oval table, faces a mix of doubt, admiration, and unease. Evelyn rises, stepping to the center, her voice clear, commanding silence. Davenport Hospitality is entering a new era. We're not just selling luxury, we're selling trust. She clicks a remote. The screen behind her lights up. Charts, projections, strategies. The Davenport Green Initiative appears a plan to restructure the hotel chain for sustainability, from renewable energy to organic dining. Gerald Croft, a silver-haired board member, frowns. Miss Davenport, this will cut short-term profits. Our shareholders. Evelyn smiles, cutting in calmly. No, Gerald. This isn't cost, it's investment. The under 40 seconds, the wealthiest demographic of the next decade, spend based on ethics and sustainability. If we don't evolve, we'll become relics. The room grows heavy. Evelyn steps forward, voice firm. My father built this empire on quality. I'll carry it into the 21st century with responsibility. Silence stretches for seconds. Then a young director stands, clapping. Another joins. Applause thunders through the room. Croft sinks into his seat, eyes dark. Evelyn nods, her faint smile sharp as steel. She's claimed her place not through marriage or name, but through leadership. That afternoon, Evelyn steps onto her office balcony. The city sprawls below skyscrapers gleaming, traffic pulsing like veins. She rests a hand on her belly, stroking gently. A life grows within, a child she vows to raise in a different world. Not one of arrogant men destroying, but of strong women building. Her phone buzzes. An email from Forbes. Interview request Evelyn Davenport, new queen of hospitality. She smirks, replying, available. The Park Avenue penthouse, once Richard's stage facade, is now a true home. Evelyn returns at dusk, kicking off her heels, donning an apron, cooking with her children. Their laughter fills the kitchen, spreading through rooms once cold. The kids look at their mother with awe they never gave their father. To them, Evelyn is both mother and leader. In that moment, she knows. She didn't just reclaim power from Richard. She was reborn. The woman once underestimated, living in a man's shadow, now stands in the light. No longer dismissed, no longer a decoration. She's a queen on a new throne. And the world, from Paris's glittering halls to Tokyo's ancient corridors, will now speak her name. Late night in Queens. Richard shuffles out of the subway station, his cheap coat barely shielding the biting wind. His once polished shoes, gleaming under Aurelius's lights, are cracked, soaked from leaking awnings. He tucks his hands in his pockets, walking a trash-strewn street, the air thick with old grease from food carts. He stops at a small newsstand, its rusted tin roof under a dim fluorescent bulb. The elderly vendor nods, offering a fresh Forbes magazine. Richard reaches out, touching the cover. He freezes. It's Evelyn. She stands on the Davenport Tower balcony, Manhattan skyline, a diamond tapestry behind her. Her hair is neat, eyes blazing, hand on her pregnant belly. The headline screams, Evelyn Davenport's coronation, hospitality's new queen. Richard grips the magazine, fingers crumpling the edges. He flips it open, each page a knife to his mind. The article details her transformation of Davenport hospitality, her signed deals, her lauded green initiatives, even grudging praise from rivals. Every line sings her glory. Then he reaches the final paragraph. After a quiet divorce, Miss Davenport pours her heart into her children and career, proving a new chapter can be the most valuable. Quiet divorce. Richard lets out a hoarse, choked laugh. Quiet? He glances around, as if the city mocks him. He exposed, ejected from Aurelius before hundreds of eyes. In Evelyn's story, he's not even a villain, just a footnote, erased, a name lost. He drops the magazine. It lands in a rain-soaked puddle, Evelyn's triumphant face rippling in the water. He stares, her eyes seeming to meet his not with hatred, not with anger, but with cold indifference. That feels crueler than revenge. Richard wanders through the night, legs aching. He collapses on a park bench, darkness enveloping him, streetlights flickering. He recalls every moment at Aurelius. Candles, crystals, Evelyn's eyes, the divorce papers. Now it's not a nightmare. It's reality. A reality he can't escape. In his mind, he hears Evelyn's heels clicking in the dining room. The violin's sharp notes. Her final words. You're sitting in the wrong seat. She was right. His whole life, he sat in the wrong seat. He thought he was king, But the throne was never his. He tilts his head back, staring at a gray sky. No crystal light, no champagne and flutes, just cold wind, distant sirens, and a broken man shivering in a city that no longer knows his name. In that moment, he knows. Evelyn didn't just exact revenge. She erased him from history. The story now belongs to her, and the world will remember Evelyn Davenport as a queen, while Richard Ellison fades, a shadow too faint to recall. Manhattan pulses on, sleepless. Two parallel worlds unfold in one night. One radiant, one desolate. On the east side, the Davenport Tower shines like a lighthouse. On its top floor, a grand ballroom hosts the company's 60th anniversary gala. Politicians, Hollywood stars, billionaires, and global media jostle to capture every moment. Chandeliers explode with light. Champagne flows like a golden stream. Evelyn descends the main staircase in a midnight blue gown, shimmering with silver, her hair swept high, eyes blazing. Her pregnancy, subtly veiled, only enhances her mythic aura, a queen building a future while carrying new life. As she enters, the room rises, applause thundering like a victory march. She raises a non-alcoholic champagne flute, her voice resounding. Davenport hospitality isn't just celebrating 60 years of the past. We're celebrating the start of the next 60. This isn't just my father's legacy. It's the future for all of us. Camera flashes erupt. The press dubs her hospitality's global queen. Number Evelyn Davenport floods social media. Every smile, every step, is captured and broadcast worldwide. Meanwhile, miles away in Queens, Richard Ellison sits in a dingy bar, neon lights flickering. Before him, a cheap whiskey burns his throat with its harsh bite. He wears a worn shirt, no watch on his wrist, no cufflinks on his sleeves. Beside him, strangers' raucous laughter drowns out the tinny rock music from a distorted speaker. On the wall-mounted TV, a live feed from the Davenport Gala plays. The camera pans to Evelyn, radiant, regal. Richard freezes. The bar's patrons cheer as her name flashes on screen, not because they know her, but because they admire the icon she's become. He bows his head, draining his glass. For a moment, he wonders if anyone at that glittering gala remembers him. A decade ago, he was a fixture at such events. Now he's a nobody in a bar reeking of stale tobacco. The broadcast shifts to a massive screen at the gala, a video of the company's 60-year journey. Early hotels, milestones, and finally, Evelyn on the Davenport Tower balcony, hand on her belly, gazing at the city. The ticker reads, "The future belongs to her." Richard's blood surges. He knows that look, the eyes that once met his over breakfast, that saw him off on fake business trips. He called them dull, harmless, but they were the eyes of someone patient, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. In one world, Evelyn raises her glass, the ballroom chanting her name. In the other, Richard hurls his glass to the floor, shards scattering, the sound lost in the bar's din. No one looks his way. No one cares. In these opposing worlds, a woman ascends a radiant throne, while a man slides into an anonymous abyss. Manhattan still shines, but for Richard, it's just a gray brick wall pressing down. Evelyn has entered history. Richard has been erased from it. Late afternoon, the day's final light floods the city like molten fire across the sky. Manhattan glows in gold, but in Richard Ellison's cheap Queens apartment, light barely seeps through a tiny window, casting a bleak glow on a gray brick wall. He sits on a wooden chair, back hunched, eyes lost in emptiness. On the table, crumpled papers pile up, debt notices, unpaid bills, a contract from Apex Solutions, the small firm he can't call a career. By day, he inputs data in a cramped room, monitored by a boss younger and less experienced. Each night, he returns to this musty apartment, drinking cheap whiskey until sleep takes him. Outside the window, the city hums, but to him, it's a towering, cold wall with no way back. Across the river, at the Davenport Tower's peak, Evelyn hosts an international press conference. Reporters crowd, microphones thrust forward. Her pregnant belly is prominent, but her eyes are sharp, her voice commanding. Davenport Hospitality will be the world's first carbon-neutral hotel chain. This isn't just a promise, it's a mission. The room erupts in applause. EEA, number Evelyn Davenport trends globally. On the massive screen, the ED logo blazes, a permanent mark of her new dynasty. In Queens, Richard flips on his old TV, her image crystal clear, no static. He sees Evelyn, not the quiet wife who folded his shirts, but a global queen. In that moment, he knows history has been rewritten, and he has no place in it. He shuts off the TV, the screen black, reflecting his haggard face, red-rimmed eyes. In the dark, he sees himself, not the Richard Ellison of old, but a stranger, aged, lost, a ghost wandering a city that once knelt at his feet. He rises, stepping to the window. The sunset paints Manhattan red. The Davenport Tower stands tall, a golden spear piercing the sky. Richard gazes, feeling like he's staring at a lost kingdom. A kingdom never truly his. Sirens wail, children laugh below, all alien to him. In his mind, he hears Evelyn's heels in Aurelius's dining room, the gala's applause, the crowd chanting her name. And he knows his name is gone. From boardrooms, from headlines, from high society's memory. He's no longer a king, just a dethroned man left in darkness. Evelyn, meanwhile, cradles her newborn as the press conference ends. Flashes flare, but she smiles softly at her child. A new beginning, not just for the company, but for her life. Above, daylight fades, city lights igniting. A new dawn awaits Evelyn each day, each triumph, each accolade. But for Richard, this sunset never ends. He'll live on, yes, but as a shadow. A name scratched from the story. A man who touched the light, unaware it was never his. And now, an eternal dusk engulfs Richard Ellison. Evelyn Davenport proved that power doesn't always roar. True strength comes not from flaunting, but from patience, from rising after being underestimated, and from believing in one's own worth. She didn't just reclaim everything from her husband. She turned pain into a weapon, silence into a voice that shook the world. Meanwhile, Richard became a testament to blind arrogance. When you think you're untouchable, that's when you begin to fall. And sometimes, the greatest punishment isn't defeat, it's being forgotten. But is this truly the end? Or will there be another chapter, where Richard scrambles to survive, and Evelyn faces new enemies emerging at her peak? I want to hear your thoughts. Whose side are you on in this story? Leave a comment, share this video with anyone who needs a reminder of the hidden power of patience. And if you want to follow the next chapter, subscribe and hit the notification bell because this is only the beginning.